You're in the middle of your 17th legislative session representing Winona. Take us back to when you first ran for the House. What motivated you then, and what motivates you today?
I've taught, I taught American government at Winona Senior High since 1975. And since 1975, I've been the advisor to a model legislature. It's the only one of its kind, not just in the state, but in the country. And it's a model legislature. It's just based on Minnesota. So it's not the UN. It's not YMCA, Youth in Government. It's a model legislature. So I did that for 11 years, and I thought I should maybe take my own advice. I've encouraged students to get involved, so I decided to get involved. I'm still the advisor to that model legislature. So from 1975 to now, it's been 44 years.
What have you learned from those events?
We will have, this past year, we had about 130 students, my college students, because I teach adjunct faculty at Winona State. They set it up on a website. So we have grades 7 through 16, with the 7th graders being pages, the 8th through 12th graders being members of the House, Senate, or Governor's office, and my college students, and also students from the technical college, more or less being the people who staff the committees, staff the House and Senate, staff the governor's office. So they use bills from our legislature. We teach them how to pass bills, present bills, amend bills. So it's all hands-on with primary sources.
Well, getting back to your district, what are some of the issues that are important to the people of your district, and how has that changed over your time here at the Capitol?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. We had the first mini session in 22 years on October 2nd through 4th in Winona. We had the first mini session in Winona in 30 years in Winona. And a mini session is when we bring the entire House down to an area. Winona was the hub, but we had hearings in Austin, Winona, Rochester, Rushford, Preston, Caledonia, on an array of issues for 3 days. So when we talk about what the issues are numerous, they are controversial sometimes, but this is the first time we've done a mini session in 22 years, and I hope now we've embedded it into the Minnesota House, that we will go out during that first interim and we will listen to the people. We didn't bring issues to them. They brought their issues to us. So to plan it, I had 5 meetings in Winona with people representing the entire area, as many as 45 people at some meetings, 35. And we built the mini session from the ground up. So you're looking at July, August, September to plan that mini session. And we actually started planning it in January here in the Greater Minnesota Economic Development and Jobs Committee, which I chair.
You've been openly frustrated how some of the legislative sessions have come to an end and have been vocal that things need to change. You chair the House Subcommittee on Legislative Process Reform. For those that may not know, what has the subcommittee been working on during this interim?
For those people who might want to see this, they can get a digital copy of this in color. Okay. This actually goes back to 2007 when I chaired the Government Operations Committee, and we knew we were in trouble then. So we have had 17 special sessions since 1997. 17. And now, lately, we seem to have one more or less every 2 years because we can't get our work done. And we can't get our work done, particularly if you go through here. We have set records in the recent legislative sessions for introductions of bills. This year, we sent a whopper. 2,922 bills were introduced just in 6 months in the Minnesota House. And that's 134 members. But in the Senate, they managed, of course, because they're senators and there's half as many, they actually introduced more, 2,925. So we have 134 members of the House. We can be in session only 120 days over 2 years. We put in 2,922 bills. So my statement is you cannot put an infinite number of items into a finite process and expect anything other than a breakdown. And we've broken down 17 times in the last 22 years. That's a lot of breakdowns.
Well, do you believe there's support from leadership on both sides of the aisle to incorporate some of the ideas that your subcommittee has proposed?
We've incorporated some over the years, and some stuck and some haven't. I think the most the most useful one has been the one where if you're going to introduce an amendment on the House floor, you have to introduce it 24 hours in advance and has to be posted. Now, some of our members think that's very controversial because we should be allowed the freedom to just throw an amendment out there on the House floor. And when we throw an amendment out there, it's likely in the hundreds. Amendments that the public has never seen, that we have no idea what they do, and they're just sitting there, and we'll take the better part of 12, 15, sometimes 20 hours on the House floor to do things we don't understand. So that has been the rule that has stuck, and I hope we continue to use that one. I would go further. There are states that limit the number of bills a member can introduce. Some states say 6. Well, I think 6 times 134 is still a lot of bills. I would also have drop-dead timelines for policy committees, for finance committees, and then I'd also say, let's say on May 1st, no more bills are going to be introduced. If you go through what I just showed you, we're introducing bills on the last day of session at 1:45 to midnight. They're not going to go anywhere, but staff has to take the bills. We have to go through the process of introducing those bills. So there's a number of things we could do and should do. And I hope finally both sides are not just interested, but they're willing to say we need to do this.
What else would you like the legislature to make a priority in 2020?
To restrain itself, I think Governor Dayton had an excellent idea. He wanted to have the second year, the short year, the non-budget year, something that was called an unsession, where we looked at things that no longer worked, and then we repealed them, or we amended them to a point where they would work. We have commissions, task forces, working groups, listening groups out there stacking that don't even meet. Then why are they on the books? Why should we even carry them? You're looking at laws that go back decades that no longer are functional or that desperately need to be refined. That should be our work in the short session. I would like to see us continue what he started. This isn't going to be a budget session, so let's make it a session where we clean up what we did. And remember, we went into special session this past year. The mess that was created on that one special session day should be our first priority to fix, because there are a number of things, frankly, that we just didn't do well that last special session day.
And just finally, I have to ask you this before we let you go. You taught many years at Winona High School and at Winona State. Great career there, but you're also a retired golf professional.
Right.
You have to tell us a little bit about that. The story behind that.
I grew up working in my father's golf pro shop. My father was the golf pro at Westfield in Winona. He was at that point the youngest golf professional in the United States at 17. Wow. And we knew parts of the story, but it wasn't until recently when he had his stroke that we figured out exactly what happened. He dropped out of public high school at the age of 17 because he wanted to graduate from the Catholic high school, Cotter, but his father would not pay the tuition, so he needed a job. He was the top caddy at Westfield. The pro had left, recommended him for the job. So at 17, he signed a contract to be the professional at Westfield Golf Course so he could earn enough money over the summer to pay tuition to graduate from Cotter High School. And before he passed away in 2015, they made him a distinguished alumni of Cotter High School. So I grew up on golf courses. Then I became a golf professional. I had my own pro shop for about 20 years and gave lessons. And in my office, I have a number of items that are golf related: an Eisenhower golf ball, the last Kenneth Smith Golf Club from Governor Dayton's father's golf set. Governor Dayton said the boys were sort of hard on it, so there was only one left. But when people come in, the slogan for Kenneth Smith was handmade to fit you, and all of these clubs were handmade. So when I have people in, and I have a number of items that have the slogan on it, I say that slogan should be applied to legislation. Legislation should be handmade to fit the state and the district before we pass it. Just like a golf club is handmade to fit you before you go out and use it.